I'm Dr. LeGrand, and today we're going to be talking about how I unlocked my ADHD brain to live a more fulfilled life. So, let me just share my story to kind of start this whole thing off to begin with. When I was a kid dealing with dyslexia and ADHD, it was definitely a challenge, just like I think most of you have experienced with ADHD. But I was experiencing every single day headaches, brain fog. I couldn't concentrate, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. I knew I had dyslexia, and I assumed I had ADHD. I wasn't diagnosed officially with ADHD until I was in college. And one of the things that my dad, he had read a lot about health and stuff like that, and same with my parents. And one of the big things that they had me do was, well, you're eating crappy for one, but also you're not drinking enough water. So that was one big thing. When I started implementing drinking some water, that made a difference as far as my headaches dissipating. But I was still getting headaches, maybe not every day, because that's what was happening to me. Is I was getting headaches every day and having brain fog and focus issues. It wasn't until later when I was like about 18 when I started to get into the very first thing, number one, because there's going to be 5 areas that I think that have really helped unlock my ADHD to really kind of have a more fulfilled life. And the very first one was doing a full-on detox. So the full-on detox, if you guys are just jumping on, if you guys, just so I know that you guys can hear me and that the connection's good and that the chat is working, can you just put in the chat if you can hear me, you can see me, and where you guys are coming from? So that way, when we get into the Q&A questions, I can actually show your questions as we're using this feature, this new software that we're using. So yeah, so the very number one was doing a detox. And so when I decided to do a detox, now there's lots of terminologies when it comes to detox. There's a lot of different products out there that talk about all sorts of different types of detoxes. Hey, Pete, from all the way from New Zealand. Wow, good to see you. See, this is cool. I can show you guys the what your little chat here. That's what I like about this feature. So, not to get off any topic, but good thing that it is working. I'm seeing people coming in. We got here Katri from Texas. That's awesome. All right, I don't mean to get off topic here, but good to know that the chat is working. So, but yeah, so when I decided to do a detox, the very first one I got introduced to was an old book called Arise and Shine. And it's probably one of the most intense detoxes that you can possibly do. And it's a full month-long detox where pretty much the very first week, you're mostly just doing all raw veggies. That's it. And then some select grains and beans and legumes and stuff like that. And then once you get into week 2, it's pretty much just all veggies, and that's it. Then when you get into week 3, then it's all just no more raw veggies. You're just doing veggie smoothies. And then usually in the middle of that, you're doing probably like 1 or 2 days of full days of pretty much no foods, just liquids, and maybe some herb shakes and stuff like that. But pretty much it's pretty intense. And then by week 4, I did, intense raw. Then you kind of you go back down. So you do a raw veggie smoothies, and then you go back to doing raw veggies for about 4 or 5 days. And then you go back to doing raw veggies, grains, and legumes. And then by the time you're in 5th week, then you could start introducing things as like proteins and stuff like that. But you're mostly doing, you're slowly implementing those things. And when I went on this, that's when I really started to notice significantly that my brain fog was dissipated. My senses were really heightened, like the sense of smell, taste, hearing, sight, and even just my concentration altogether. Like it was like I was like almost like had a brand new body by doing something intense like this. And that really sold me on the idea of there is something to it, like every once in a while, to really just clean the inner vessel of your body. And that's what really kind of started me introducing and understand that this really helped my ADHD significantly. And so I knew there's something I had to continually doing. And obviously doing a month-long detox all the time, isn't something that's easy to do. But over time, like how I made doing a detox consistently to make it more of a lifelong habit was 3 areas that I consistently do. One is I do weekly fasts. So I'll typically do a 24 to 36 hour water fast once or sometimes twice a week. And every time I do this, I actually pick a day that is the busiest day where I'm working. And it takes a time to build up to this, to build up to doing and doing these 24, 36-hour fast on your busiest days. Because what's happened is you're putting your body in complete ketosis, and so you're using brain as your fuel. And I have noticed over time when I'm doing that, I can actually focus more at work and be able to be more present when I'm in a fasted state. Same with the other beauty about that is autophagy with fasting. And so that is actually what is get rid of old dying cells in your body. So that way increase stem cells throughout your body. And so using something like fasting is something how I implement on a regular basis, implementing detox. Now, the other thing is also doing quarterly long fast. So like usually I'll do like, maybe a couple days fast. Now, again, you have to be careful on these. This is something you have to build up to doing. And then the other thing is like once or twice a year, I'll do an annual detox. Now, it isn't like the one I just suggested. I don't always do that one. Sometimes it might be a month-long detox from sugar, where I don't do no sugar. Or it is where I might do a month long where I'm doing a healthy keto diet. It's always good to help reset your body to be able to clean the inner vessel. Or I will do the strict veggie, vegetables and veggie smoothies for a strict long with different detoxification herbs. So that is the first thing that really helped unlock my ADHD brain, where I'm able to be more focused, more present, and not having that brain fog and a lot of the migraines that I was experiencing that really made an impact on me. And so the second thing that I would say that really helped with unlocking my ADHD brain and is definitely exercise. Exercise, I think we all know this. We all know it's important, but it is hard for us, people with ADHD, to be consistent at it. And it's something that I've struggled out throughout most of my life, is trying to figure out a good routine and being consistent with it. And like what I want to share with you guys what I'm currently doing right now as far as my exercise routine, and that has worked with my schedule. And this is something you have to do constantly, is finding ways that work with your schedule. So I used to try like, okay, every day I'm going to go to the gym, and also I'm going to go do some kind of cardio, because both of those, strength exercise and cardio are great, but is it feasible within your own work schedule to be able to do that? Okay. But what I had to do is I had to find out, okay, I can designate at least an hour to doing at least muscle strength exercise or cardio exercise. So what I do is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I will do strength exercise. And then Tuesday and Thursday, I will typically do some cardio. So usually cycling, running, I'm taking a little break on just because of hip issues and stuff like that. But that is my current schedule. And I do in the middle of the day, because the other thing that also prevents me from actually exercising consistently is when I would show up at the gym and it's crowded. I think you guys know this. Like when you go to the gym, you could get really unmotivated. It's like, okay, that's not available. That's not available. Oh, I can't lift weights here because someone else is on it. That becomes very demotivating, and you don't feel motivated to go to the gym. That prevents us, people with ADHD, to actually want to do it. So what you got to do is find a time where it's not so crowded. And so for my gym, it's usually between like 1 and 2:30. So I try to like make sure I not schedule anything between those times so I can be consistent going to the gym. So you want to make sure you remove barriers that are going to prevent you from going to and doing exercise. Same with cycling. So for me, I like doing the middle of the day, because right now it's really cold up here in the Northwest. And so I don't want to go early in the morning because it's super cold. So I'm not going to be motivated to do it. But then if I do in the middle of the day, it's a little bit more warm, and then I'm more motivated to do it as well. So I'm more consistent on doing that. The other thing is making sure your clothes are clean, right? So that's another thing. We're dealing with laundry. And if you don't have things in place, make sure your clothes are clean, your exercise clothes, so that way it's prepped, ready to go. You want to remove as many barriers for you to be consistent with exercise. But I have noticed by doing consistent exercise, it definitely helps me with my focus. It helps me because it's increasing blood flow to the brain. It keeps me, increases, the endorphins, keeps me more happy, and more driven. So those are definitely second one on there. Okay, so next thing, we got lots of people, I love the chat coming in on here. Good to see everybody talking back and forth. So let's go on to the third one. And I'll get to Q&A questions towards the end here. So the third one, you guys heard me talk about this a lot. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. We do these live streams every Wednesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But when obviously implementing the detox and the exercise and good nutrition and stuff like that all helped. But when I was in college and especially getting into medical school, I realized there was something else missing. And this is when I got really into lab testing because I dealt with IBS, a lot of digestive issues. So I definitely had to do a huge digestive panel to see what was going on. And sure enough, there was definitely imbalances that I had to improve. And once I improved that, that made an impact. And then when I tested, my cortisol levels, that also made an impact with my energy because my mental focus as well. That made an impact. My neurotransmitters, when I tested those, saw that there was imbalances in my different amino acids as well, along with different neurotransmitters were out of balance that I had to improve. And then other hormones that are also out of balance. And then some micronutrients such as B vitamins that were all necessary to implement. And so when I started doing these, every time I did one of these tests and then implemented the treatment protocol along with it, I noticed that I was able to be a little bit more energized. I was able to be a little bit more focused. I realized that a lot of my symptoms were more dissipating because every time I was doing one of these tests and then implementing it, it made a big difference. So that is the third definitely area that has really helped with me unlocking my ADHD brain. The fourth one is about eliminating stressors. We have a lot of stressors in our life, especially when we're having ADHD, that can make a huge impact. And sorry, I'm just looking at just the chat, just make sure there's no other kind of questions that people have here. Okay, sorry. Get distracted with the chats. Okay, I love it. But yeah, so with the eliminating stressors in our life, this can be, outside stressors. That could be people that can cause us more stress. It could be our work environment. It could be also school environments. It can be our relationships. It could be a number of different things. And we need to realize what those stressors are that are impacting us. And we need to learn how to eliminate it. And one of the biggest things for me, sometimes we can't eliminate it. Sometimes we have to learn to live with certain things because you can't get rid of it. And one of my biggest things that really made an impact on my ADHD is definitely my spiritual growth. Um, for me, building a relationship with my Heavenly Father was a big impact for me because he can understand my pain. And because of that, I felt like there was a comfort there that nobody else could understand, but only he could. And whether you're religious or not, I think it's important to have a believing in some kind of higher power, whether that's in nature, whether that's in some other higher being, something that gives you that hope of something that they can understand. And that made all the difference for me, really, is having that connection. And I definitely couldn't leave that out because this is my experience. Everybody has their own experience, but I just want to share my journey of how I've been able to unlock my ADHD brain. And that was definitely a huge impact for me. And then mindset is another one. And throughout the years, even as a kid, I would listen to a lot of different tapes, motivational tapes. I grew up on Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, a lot of people that kind of helped me just kind of feed more of a positive outlook in life. And that really did help kind of adjust my mindset, even though I really sucked at school at an early age and had challenges with academics and focus and, building up friendships and all these things that, we typically deal with ADHD. I had to feed, and it really comes down to associations, which just leads into the next thing I really want to stress on is about association. It really does come down to association on a lot of things. And so when it comes down to what you want to achieve, so let's say your destiny. So your destiny is to having that optimal mind, to unlock your ADHD brain. That is your destiny, right? Everyone wants to have better focus, be more productive, be more present, to be able to have a fulfilled life, right? How do we get that? Well, for me, it really comes down to first associations. So what is associations? This is the things that we listen to. These are the things that we watch, the friends that we hang out with, the people that we talk to. I mean, it's anything that we are consuming, right? And the surroundings that we're surrounded with. So this goes back to the stressors. Are there people in your life that are toxic that you need to get rid of, and then find others that can implement And so that way you have better associations to begin with, because when you have good associations, guess what? That leads to your thoughts. So if you want to have a healthier life, be associated with more healthy, fit people, right? That like talking about health, that work out at the gym. If you want to work out the gym more and be more, exercise savvy, hang out with more of those type of people. How do you find those people? Go to the gym and you start talking to people, right? And listening to those things, listen to podcasts, whatever it takes. It all comes out of association, because then it leads to your thoughts. And then guess what? Those thoughts lead into your actions. You start doing those same things. Like I, recognize this even when I was in medical school. A lot of the colleagues there were really into health. And guess what? That's when I was actually most intense about my health, was when I was in medical school. I would go in the gym every day. I would make sure I eat my clean diet every day, because I was associated around with other people that also did the same thing. Because then actions will then lead into your character traits. And then that character will lead into your destiny of what you ultimately want. And that is probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned to unlocking my ADHD brain, or just unlocking anything that I want as far as my destiny, is it all comes down to first associations, which then leads to thoughts, actions, then our character, and then destiny. So hopefully that makes sense to you all. And so the next thing is number 5 is mentorship and coaching. I still continue today look for mentors and coaching to help me see what I don't see. So people have already been down the path, so I know exactly what to implement. And then accountability. I have someone that still holds me accountable of things that I need to do in my business or for my own ADHD health. Those are the things that I definitely need. And that has made a big difference of making sure that I'm consistent and also making it to the next level. But also on top of that, it helps me stay focused on the things that I need to stay focused on, because people with ADHD, we like to find all those shiny objects, but we need someone to help us to kind of like stay focused on this one thing that is the most important thing to be you doing right now, whether that is for your business, whether that is for things you're doing at work or at school or for your health. This is what you should be focusing on, and not trying to do all things all at once, because then that will lead into more transformation and where you want to be in your destiny. Okay. So I hope this brought value to you. Go ahead and put in the comments if this actually was helpful to you. And then if you are new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you're new, we do ADHD topics every single week. We do live streams and also evergreen videos every Monday. So hit the subscribe button there. So why? Okay. All right. So yeah, go ahead and put that chat if you found this helpful to you, and then go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We'll get into Q&A real quick. But if you are somebody that would like my help and with your ADHD, and if you're an adult that has ADHD or you suspect you have ADHD, then this is how I can help you out. And so basically, obviously my experience, going through this journey, I had to go through medical school. I had to do continuing education to learn all this stuff, and spent well over $500,000. But obviously that's not what you're gonna have to spend to be able to figure this out on figuring out your own ADHD health. But the big thing that people don't realize with ADHD is we, in a lifetime, if it's untreated, will spend over $200,000 above the neurotypical person that spends on medical expenses. Okay. And so, but again, that's not something you're going to have to spend, especially if you are going to stop it now. Hopefully you don't go through your whole life untreating your ADHD. And what I'm offering is basically a strategy session with me. It's a 45-minute one-on-one personalized strategy session where we dive in deep of really finding the blind spots in your area of your ADHD health. And then on top of that, there is a focus mind questionnaire that you fill out before our appointment that you get sent to, and you fill that out. And that really helps me understand the underlying issues of your ADHD health. And then also you'll upload your past labs that I could look over. It's not a requirement, but if you have any past labs over the last 2 years, I will look over those before our actual consultation. So that way I can actually interpret those if those haven't been interpreted for you. So, and then on top of that, this is available for just here today. If you actually act today, you'll get a bonus access to my ADHD health course. And that's a $297 value health course. So everything included with the bonus, that is a price of $1,494. Okay. But because you are here present today, you are only getting you're getting everything for just $197. So all you got to do is click in the description below. There's the link right there. If you are on Facebook, I will put it in the comment section. That's where it'll be if you are watching there. And then on top of that, where you're going to do next is you'll click on the link in the description below, and then it'll take you to this page. You'll put your information in, you'll purchase. It'll take you to this page next, where you'll pick a date. I believe I have one available tomorrow, and then nothing available until next week. Obviously, Thanksgiving's come up, but I believe there's like 5 or so slots next week. If none of the times are available to you, you can always email me, and we can always pick another time. But there should be morning, afternoon, late afternoon times, and even evening, depending on your time zone. Then once you do that, you'll put your name and info, what you're coming in for, and then it'll take you to this landing page. It's really important. Once you do hit submit, you should get a confirmation email where basically where you're going to have the appointment, the Zoom link. And then on top of that, you'll get an invite to Practice Better, which is our online client portal, where you will be filling out the questionnaire. And then that's where you'll also be uploading your labs if you have any previous labs. And then make sure to block out 45 minutes, even up to 60 minutes, because sometimes I'll go over if you guys have any further questions. No additional charge. And then just make sure to show up early. So that is what you need to do. And again, this is for adults with ADHD. Right now, I don't have any slots for parents with kids with ADHD. These are just for adults for ADHD. Okay. So again, you just click on the link below, and that's how you'll get started if you want to take action now to get those offers. And that is only good here for this live stream. So thank you guys for attending. And again, just click on the link below. And until next time, make sure to show up on our next live stream. Thank you guys. Thanks. Bye.